Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here. Today we're going to be having an advanced level discussion with Chris Tisdale about set registry, top pop coins, high-end coin collectors, kind of this area of coins that's rapidly expanding and a very popular way for people to collect kind of at the top and higher ends of the hobby. So some really interesting stuff. We're going to get into it. First, I'm going to take you through a little bit of some terminology just so that you kind of understand if you don't know too much about what these topics are. And then after that, we'll get to the conversation. I also do want to say, though, Chris and I are going to be talking more in the future, and we want to hear the topics that you want to learn about. So please do leave a comment below, especially on kind of higher or more advanced topics that you might want to have explained. So I'm going to start by explaining what a top pop coin and what population is in general. So there's the grading scale, the Sheldon numbering system from 0 to 70. 70 is the best. And, we saw that coin right there, the 68. It was super pretty. But there's something on this page that says Pcgs Population. And in this case, it says 69 for the grade of 67, 7 for 67 plus, and 1 for 68. And that means that if you have this coin, and it's mint state 67 plus, you've got what's known as a pop of 7. So there's 7 coins with your grade. Pop higher, there's 1. So the pop higher is 1. If you had a 67, pop higher would be 8 because you have 7 67 pluses and 1 68. Now, in this case, there's only one coin at the top range, which is the grade 68 from PCGS. It looks like there might be a little bit from NGC, but PCGS has only certified one in mint state 68, making that coin a top pop. So those are especially desirable, as you can imagine, because whoever has this coin has the finest known example that PCGS has seen. Now let's look at the set registries. So a set registry is something put on by PCGS and NGC, and we'll talk a little bit about it more in the video. But basically, you can compete with other people and put together collections like these. There's clearly tons and tons of sets, over 100,000, and all types of coins are included in these. If you look at and click on the US coins, then there's lots of different sets here. And so, for example, one of those categories is famous US coins. And if you went to the 100 greatest US coins, it looks like there's 17 different sets, and different people have attempted to create this. So in the DL Hansen Collections set registry, you can look through the coins that they have acquired as part of this. They're mostly PCGS graded, and you can kind of look at the different ones. Includes the 1909 SVDB Lincoln Cent. So if we click on that, we can see this specific Hansen Collections coin, and it's going to load here, but that's the specific coin that they own in their collection, so they're able to show that off. Now, there's a lot of cool applications, and it's definitely an emerging field in the coin collecting space, so we're going to be discussing how the values change around when you have top pop coins, higher population coins, and some of the interesting trends at the high end of coin collecting. Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're joined by CoinTable, Chris Tisdale. He's an expert in coins. He really knows his stuff, and he's got some great numismatic perspective. So he is going to be weighing in. I'm going to kind of throw some questions at him that I personally have, so that you can understand top pop coins, the population, the set registry, that whole market, how grading companies are somewhat creating a market, and what the greater effects of that are. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Christian. I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody that's watching.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing that's important, what is a registry set? It obviously relates to grading, but could you just take me through some of the basics of that?
So yeah, to the best of my ability, to the best of my knowledge, it's the greatest marketing thing. It's the greatest marketing idea to happen to the coin business, period, end. What it was, PCGS kind of came out of the gate and they started it, and then NGC followed suit. But the reason I mention that is because I believe that's why there's an emphasis on PCGS coins over NGC coins, because you cannot, there is no possible argument that, NGC grades, one grading company is not better than the other, period. Anyone who thinks that hasn't looked at enough coins in both holders. I have looked at coins in both holders, and I can tell you that they are both very consistently inconsistent sometimes, and there's not one that's better than the other. So what happened was, and I'm not even sure of the year, it was made possible because of the internet. Internet comes along, and somebody, whoever it is, deserves a medal, but somebody said, hey, with the internet, we can now allow people to basically show off their collection, and oh, wow, we can make it an actual competition. And so
Yeah.
the registry sets were a way for collectors to show off their collection. And then they took it a step further, and they started doing like yearly registry set awards, where they literally like recognize the guy who has the highest ranking registry set, give him an award. I'm not sure what the award is or whatnot, but it was a way for them to make it a competition instead of just a fun side hobby.
Hmm. And so basically, from what I understood, I've looked at it a little bit. People are trying to compete. There's the 0 to 70 grading scale. 70 is the best, 0 is the worst. They're trying to compete to have the highest average for whatever set they're collecting. And I guess you could do a registry set of pretty much whatever you want. I don't know how they recognize it, but say a Mercury dime registry set. And then there's something also that I feel like I remember where there were bonuses. So if you have a coin that's like the sole best coin, say in mint state 68, and there's no other 68s, maybe you get a little bit of a point bonus in terms of how they calculate the rankings of what sets. Like I'm not totally clear in terms of how they're actually calculating it. Outside of that, it's closely related to that 0 to 70 grading scale.
So to summarize it the best of my ability, and it's really funky because PCGS does it completely different than NGC,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty typical in the business. The best way to put it is, first of all, there was a few questions in that. First of all, a registry set is whatever they decide they want to make it the set for. So, I mean, anybody can go to pcgs.com or ngccoins.com, and you can actually, it's all public information. It's all available for anybody to just go to their website, find the registry sets, and you can browse through the highest ranking registry sets. And so for $50, you're going to have a Kennedy registry set, and that'll include the mint state Kennedys, and then you'll have one that includes the mint state Kennedys and the SMS Kennedys and also the proof Kennedys. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have one that includes all of that plus all of the varieties that NGC attributes. And so I'm not even sure how many, but there are tons of mm-hmm. registry sets, and you can and there's short sets. Like you can go in and you can say, I believe there's one just for the silver Kennedys. I might be wrong about that, but I know they do it based on the year. And so mm-hmm. it could be every coin that year. They do it based on series. They do it based on, like the Walking Liberty $50 registry set. There's a short set. There's the entire set. I mean, there's so many different ways they do it. But all that information, you can go to each website and you can find, and mm-hmm. you can look up you can go to any one of the registry sets, click on it, and see who's the top ranking person. And it's not so much that they take the average based on the scores. What it is each coin has a specific score, and then whoever has the highest score is just in first place. That's how the registry sets work. But they both do it way completely different. So it's kind of funky that way.
Yeah, and it sounds like, one comparison is like with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin's the big one, then there's a few kind of second tier, and then there's a bunch of ones nobody really cares about. Not that you have to know this, but I'd assume that some of these registry sets are like the big ones that people are really after, whereas maybe there's some specialized ones that people aren't really competing for. Do you think that that's true?
Well, I don't know that there are any that nobody cares about per se, because that's another one of the great things about coins is there's so many niches. There's millions of niches. There's a place for you if you're interested in coins. It doesn't matter if you only like this particular coin, or if maybe you're a nickel guy and you're all about full steps. Maybe you're a 1938 guy because that's the year your dad was born, or that's the year your mom was born, or whatever it is. And so you've got every single coin and every single coin made from every single die in 1938. There's so many different options there. So with the registry sets, there definitely are some that are more popular than others. But man, these registry guys, they take it all very seriously. And so whatever set it is, it's popular, I would be willing to say. But yeah, there's definitely sets that have more players than others. And that's what drives the prices on these top pop coin. Maybe you might have a coin that's not, it's not rare or scarce per se, but maybe it's not very well known maybe it's not well known to exist in, maybe there's only a handful in a 68 or a 68 deep cameo, for example. As long as the number of registry set collectors who need that coin in their set outweighs the population, then it's going to be a high dollar coin at auction, period end, because you've got two guys who need it for their registry set collection and they're going to fight over it. And that's where those huge numbers come from.
Who are these people that are are they just collectors that like this sort of thing, or are they, is it a few really, really wealthy guys that just dominate like every registry set? Like, who's your sense?
I've seen both, and everyone in between. I've seen, the wealthy guy who is kind of like the bully. Not to say they're a bully, but they're so high up in they're so far ahead in certain registry sets that literally, like, I've heard guys say like, oh, I'm fighting for the second spot, I'll never catch so-and-so who's in the number one spot. So I've seen that, and that's one of them that comes to mind. This is an NGC registry set guy, and it's all about or it's for Kennedy half dollars, and he's a doctor, and so and he's got an early start, and he's got some unbelievable coins. And so, there is that, but there's also a registry set for the W quarters or for the state quarters. And so you don't have to be, there's a place no matter where you fall into your income or your net worth or your interests, there's a place for you in the registry sets. I think that's why they've done so well. One thing I also will say is that we all know that in coins, guys that have them, some guys that have them don't want to broadcast that they have coins. And so not everybody that is a super collector is broadcasting that on the registry sets. And so that's another factor to consider is the way I look at it is if there's this many players on the registry sets, imagine how many guys are out there who really don't want people to know about their coins. For anyone who's interested, you can go and you can see in the registry sets, literally click on them. It'll show you what coins they have for all the different spots in that registry set. A lot of times there's even pictures uploaded. And the way I like to, the way I look at it is, I think to myself, for all those guys broadcasting, hey, I've got this and this and this and all these big time coins, I think to myself, how many guys don't want to broadcast that? Who have those coins, but they want to tuck them away in a bank box and keep it a secret, So it's just another way to really understand the abundance that's out there in my mind anyways.
And then, so obviously, the top pop, people want what's at the best. So sometimes you'll have one coin and, I've seen multipliers that are crazy from the best coin to a half a grade below it when it's 68 plus versus 69. So I'm curious kind of what spreads you've seen kind of at the high end. And then also say there is something where it's just one of these coins out there, when a second one comes on the market, when it's graded that way, how does does that necessarily tank the other value, or is it now you can compete in two spots for that? So that's going to attract, 3 or 4 more people who want to just come in and buy the coin while they can.
Yeah. So perfect question. And I've got a story. Story time. 1995 W. Okay. That is known kind of before the 19 enhanced reverse proof, whatever that coin is. The 95W Silver Eagle was kind of the key date of the series. Back in 1995, the grading companies, they weren't giving out 70 deep cams. So there we've got this Silver Eagle, and it's a proof. We've got now, let's say, I think it was 2013, 2011, somewhere in there, where the Silver Eagle, if it wasn't the most popular coin for the registry sets, it was right up there with the most popular coin. All of a sudden, PCGS grades a 95W in 70 deep cam. Well, it's the first and only one. There may have been another one, or maybe even 2 for that matter, but they hadn't shown up publicly on the market, and they just resided in collectors' hands or just whatever. But they weren't sold publicly, is my point. So a third or fourth one gets made, and it gets sent off to an auction company, and it sells for like 95,000 or 87,000. I mean, it's an astounding number.
Yeah.
And what was happening there, that's a perfect example of, you talk about multipliers for the next grade up and this and that. You cannot, there is not a fixed multiplier. If you have a registry set coin, get it to, and you're trying to sell it, get it to an auction yesterday, sell it. There's only going to get more made. And because what happens is, as soon as one sells, all the other guys who are making silver eagles and messing around in that arena, they see, holy crap, a 95W silver eagle just sold for, 90 some odd $1,000. So they start looking at them closer and they're like, man, this one looks like it could be a 70. And so they send it back for either reconsideration or just send it into grade or whatever. But what happened with that coin in particular is, you've got a handful of guys who need it for the registry set, and they're all bidding over it. It's a huge bidding war, and more got made. And I don't remember how many it was that year exactly, but the price just trended downward. I mean, it was like 90 something, and then high 80s, and then low 80s, and then 70, and then 65, and then 52, and they just trended downwards to where the last time I actually looked, they were still selling for like 15,000. That was probably a year or two ago. Last time I actually asked somebody about it, they were to the point where they were selling for like 10 grand or even less. And so that's a good example of the registry effect, how it affected a certain coin. And yeah, I mean, it was a simple matter of economics. You had X amount of players in the registry sets who needed them and who could afford to pay that kind of crazy money. And as more and more got made and placed with certain collectors, it lowered the amount of guys fighting for them, and so the value came down. That's also the exact same thing that happened on those 1964 D over Ds, FS 504 that I was talking about in our first meeting. How I sold those 4 varieties for $10,000. Same deal, registry set. In fact, part of that story that I didn't mention, or at least I don't think I mentioned it, is I found 10 of those varieties. I never even ended up grading the other 4 or 5 because it got to the point so fast that they weren't even worth grading. I mean, so in other words, I sell one, it sells for 6 grand, and then 2 grand, and then 3 grand, however that went. A lot of other dealers were seeing this too. And they're looking at 1964 Ds. And so they're like, oh, wow, that's worth a ton of money for some reason. So they find a couple and attribute them. And the pop just exploded on that coin. And so before I even had time to grade the ones I had, they weren't worth grading anymore, all of them.
Interesting.
So, and I see it everywhere. The other thing you'll see is, like, let's take something common, like a 91, and I just made that up. It could be an 89 or a 79, but let's take a 91 mint state cent. Okay. Let's say the top pop is MS67. You'll see the value on those is just at a steady value. Well, then all of a sudden you see a 7 plus or an MS68 get made and go to auction, and it's like $6,000 or $12,000, something astounding like that for a common coin where they made billions of them. Registry set effect. That's all it is. And long term, those coins are going to, at some point there won't be, like, whatever the top pop is now, unless it's an MS70, at some point it's not going to be the top pop anymore. And in addition to that, there's going to be more that continue to get made. And the more they get made, the lower the value gets driven. So, but I think, honestly, in my opinion, because it's so obvious to me, I feel like a lot of the guys who are the registry players don't care that the value comes down. They just want that coin. They want it for their collection. It's part of what they enjoy doing, and they have the money to do it, so it's not a big deal to them. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And what you were saying about when these coins are getting made, is that from inflation, grade inflation from the grading companies? Basically, what I would be saying there is, they want to just make some action happen. Now they've decided to grade one coin, and it's going to drive in the price. More people will send in these coins. They can make money from grading fees, and they'll give a few more, 68s for that made up 91 Lincoln cent example. Now they're going to push out a few more so they get tons of people sending them in. Or is it genuinely that people weren't sending in the 91 coins? So now, some come across their desk and are 68s and they're grading. Like, how much of a game are the grading companies playing, do you think?
It's hard for me to speculate on that. You know, I don't want to give them too much credit, honestly, because based on what I know about, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way either, but based on what I know about the grading companies, I don't think they're sitting around at a table discussing how they can get more coins to get sent to them.
Hmm.
There's really, honestly, there's two parties in town. You got NGC or PCGS. Annex to me is not even in the equation, unfortunately. You've got two, pick one. And so when that happens, they don't really need, in my view, they don't need to sit and have those types of discussions to drive business. And so I'm not going to speculate on that. I don't buy into the conspiracy theories about gradeflation or about how, oh, you know, they're just intentionally not giving me the grade because they know I got to send it back. I mean,
Hmm.
that's its own show, talking about all the conspiracy theories and how only big dealers get good grades. All that stuff about the grading companies, I buy into none of that. I can't
Hmm.
speculate on any of that. I'm also not in the room either, so I could be wrong. But I don't think that's the case. I think that what's genuinely happening is as more people tune in to what's happening with the registry sets, more people are developing their eye. And as this whole hobby of as this whole hobby of numismatics grows, people are becoming more aware of how valuable a top pop 91, how valuable a common date coin, if it's a top pop, can be. And
Hmm.
so when they see something crazy, and they're like, oh, this is in an MS68 holder, but it has amazing toning, or it has luster that's, that you never see. Let's send it for reconsideration and hope for a plus, or hope for an MS69 or any sort of a grade bump. I think that's more or less what's happening. I've also got enough stories about my own examples of coins where, because I specialize in what I do, I look at it before I ever send it to a grader and I say, this is a 67 deep cam.
Hmm.
And in that grade, it's worth X amount. Well, there's been coins that I've had to send 6, 8, 10 times to get that grade.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't believe that it's a conspiracy or anything like that. I just believe you need the right grader on the right day who knows what they're looking at, and that's how that stuff happens in my mind, in my personal opinion. Again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I spend a lot of time on forums with people, just reading around what the thoughts are, and there's a lot of the grading companies, they're doing all this stuff, and I think that that's great to hear from a dealer who really has the perspective, because these people are very likely to not have the eye that you have. It's a very different game. Somebody who's submitted thousands, tens of thousands of coins, knowing what the range is, versus another person who has pretty much no experience, just getting angry that their coins aren't grading the way they think that they should. And obviously, like you said, it can be a little bit of a game when you have to send a coin in 6, 8, 10 times to get it what the true grade is. But I think that that's some really interesting perspective there. I guess I have a question. Are these new, and then I'll get to my very final one for the show, but are these coins, is it people opening up like bank rolls, or is it kind of, when you say reconsideration, for people who might not know, I assume that that's when you have a coin in a holder, you send it in, you
Exactly.
say that they can crack it out if it's going to grade higher. I think that's what it is. Like, how are
Yep.
these coins getting made?
Both, man. I have found ridiculously high grade coins in original rolls, out of the original cello if it's in a mint set, mint bags. Um, and then, yeah, the reconsideration part is when you find a coin that's already graded by NGC or PCGS, and you look at it and you send it in under the reconsideration tier. They charge you regardless of if it upgrades or not, and they look at it and they only crack it out if it's going to upgrade. And so I know a lot of guys. There are practitioners out there who are so advanced with their eye at a certain coin or a certain series, where that's how they make their living, is they stick to one series, whether it's the Walking Liberty $half or the Standing Liberty quarter, Buffalo nickel. That's all they focus on, and they'll go out there and they'll find top pops of that particular coin and look at it, and it's like their mind, they'll look at it and they'll say, yep, it has a chance at getting a plus, or this is one of those coins that has a chance of upgrading a point on the right day if you get the right grader. And so there are guys that just solely make a living in a very good living just doing that. So it's all of the above. These coins are being found in the wild, and they are being found in holders, and it's that and everything in between.
Awesome. And then the last question is, and this is for people, it's not investment advice, it's just kind of some fun, entertaining theory. Do you see, like, are the registry sets and top pop coins, is that here to stay? Is that going to, would you say as a fun prediction that that's going to take off? Or do you think that'll kind of phase out or kind of transform into something else? That's kind of where I want to conclude this one.
I see it continuing to be a very fun, popular game. We have egos. We have, no matter what you're interested in, one observation I've made about people is no matter what they're interested in, they want to share that interest with others. And so I believe they're here to stay. I believe they're only going to grow and become more popular. And as far as the investment side, if I were to do a registry set, I would do it strictly for fun and not look at it from the investment perspective, because some of these top pop coins go for ridiculous money, and if you're the one buying them, you have to understand that more are going to be made, and that unless it's a 70, it's going at some point there will be one that grades higher. And by the time that happens, your coin that was the top pop is not going to be worth what it was when you bought it. So I wouldn't do it for investment type purposes. I would not expect them to hold their value or appreciate in any way, shape, or form. Could there be anomalies? Yeah, there could be anomalies, but overall, in general, I would stay far away from that as far as investment purposes. So if you're going to do it for fun, do it because you enjoy it, do it because you would do it for the same reason that you would do any other type of hobby. If you're trying to make money in coins, there's millions of different ways to do that, and we can talk about some of those in the future. But it's definitely not by going out and buying registry set coins.
Mm-hmm.
You can make registry set coins, and that's a good way to make money, but that involves selling them, not buying them.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much. I certainly learned a lot, and I bet the viewers have as well. Always appreciate you having your great perspective. I'll look forward to making some more videos. We haven't talked exactly what those will look like, but I'm looking forward to chatting. And for the viewers, make sure to go follow Chris. CoinTable Chris Tisdale is his YouTube, and CoinTable is the Instagram. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you more. Thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more content. And get in touch with me or contact on treasuretown.yt.com, my website, my Facebook, Treasuretown, my Twitter, @treasuretown_YT, or my Instagram, @treasuretown_YT. Looking forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.